Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Benchmark Podcast. This is Brother Wolf, and I'm joined here by my brother.
This is YNB Collins.
And I'm joined by my other brother.
Rev Ross here.
So, as previously discussed on another podcast, my loving twin boys have gotten to the age where they're getting into watching wrestling. Now, one of the things about professional wrestling, I should state that, not
sports entertainment.
Yeah, sports entertainment. It is professional wrestling, sports entertainment. It's not the same thing as Greco-Roman wrestling or anything like that. It is really a scripted thing. In case anybody out there still doesn't understand this, it is scripted. Now, the thing is, my twins are watching it, and they're getting to the point in which they're looking at certain things. Like there was a Hell in a Cell match, in case y'all aren't familiar with Hell in a Cell. Undertaker threw Mankind off of a 20-foot tall steel cage onto the ground.
And it was planned.
And it was planned that poor man was going to go flying off of there. Now, he had some weight to cushion his fall, but still, even big people know ain't nothing going to cushion 20 feet. like that's the whole thing. Poor Foley's, what is it? Foley Mama's baby boy had his tooth going up through his nose and lip going straight up.
Hold on. Intern, the Hell in a Cell is free on YouTube. Put the link in. Sorry.
So with that being said, the twins were watching this and it was like, holy crap, why aren't the police arresting that man?
And he's still not wrong. He's still not wrong. Rev Ross, please chime in.
I mean, this was a classic match. So if you are a fan of
not classic,
wrestling,
iconic.
Then yeah, this match is something that you are deeply familiar with already. If you are not a fan of wrestling, if you want to see some random violence, go ahead, it's nice.
I mean, continue to go on with it. Current WWE SmackDown champion Cody Rhodes started his own company called AEW. AEW is a little bit more free-spirited with some of their matches. They can tend to get a little more ultra-violent than some WWE matches, which are, of course, more cinematographic. I just created a word. I understand, but at the end of the day, they were like, wow, when they saw people going through flaming tables and everything like that, they were like, geez, and that's where Cody comes from. That's how he's so good at wrestling WWE, is he's been in really bad, situations like that. And I was like, yeah, like Japan, but I was like, it's nothing compared to what ECW is. Then I opened up their eyes to ECW.
No. No.
So, of course, just breaking, that was going off topic. But to go back to it is the fact that they begin to question, what's going on. And they're very interested in the action figures. They're very interested in the titles, the T-shirts, everything with it. So I talked to my wife separate from them, and I said, with that being said, I'm not sure how I should take them knowing that it is scripted and not, even though there are parts of it that are real, the outcome of the matches are not real. And so she said, no, I should not be the one in order to break that news to him. And so I asked my brothers what they thought about it. And really, one of my brothers, and he knows who he is, gave the exact answer I thought he would give. 100%. I was getting the answer from my other brother, and we decided, hey, we should do a podcast on this. So the brother who I knew exactly what his answer was going to be to this question, go ahead and say it, brother.
Riley will. I mean, what we're getting at is the idea of innocence versus being naive, naivete. And they're getting to the point where they're going to be bombarded with their school mates' ideas and so forth and so on. And I really love the title of the Gym Class Heroes album, As Cruel as School Children, because everybody knows what that was. If you've ever been partially bullied or whatever, you know there's nothing can be as cruel as. And I want to make sure they're not only in the know, but able to perform in general. And maybe this will go ahead and help send them on an upward trajectory. I can understand wanting to keep their innocence, but the world's not innocent. I'm taking the world as it comes. So we had to go ahead and say that for the podcast so people understood my stance. But Rev Ross, what is your stance?
So my stance is more along the lines of, this is kind of like the first of a bunch of talks about, wrestling's not real, but it's kind of real. There's no Santa Claus, but the history behind things that we commonly take advantage of, and like we portray differently to children, right?
I have a quick question, Rev Ross. Feeding off of that, who told you that Santa Claus wasn't real?
My godmother.
Your godmother told you.
We had a long talk about the history of Saint Nicholas, and that a person named Nicholas existed. And he was she was Catholic, but she was explaining his whole canonization, and that we remember this person by, the personage of Santa Claus. And I was like, that was a perfect explanation to a 10-year-old.
And you weren't the least bit hurt?
I was like, oh, yeah. That's why they call him Saint Nick, because he was a saint. Okay, that's cool.
And you weren't the least bit disappointed?
Huh?
You weren't the least bit disappointed or anything like that?
No, was my present didn't stop coming. I had already suspected something was up, because why we always got to be knocked out?
That's what I said.
Before Santa Claus showed up, to the point where we would gather all the kids up and drive us around town and see all the houses and stuff. Wow, it was pretty and stuff. But part of me was why are we doing this? Anyway, so I already had some reservations, and I had a best friend at the time whose father was like, I'm Santa Claus, because everything you get for Christmas I pay for.
You want his credit? See?
So he was not about to let some random white man get credit for all the gifts his kids get.
I thought Saint Nick was Russian, actually.
European.
Yeah, whatever.
How was that?
The point is that, you want to get the credit for all the work you did for your family. I get that.
Yeah. So, what I'm saying is that this is all in my mind. Just remember, I am not a parent. And the more I look at parenting, it's no desire to be a parent. Right?
That's one thing we always agree on.
You got to have these tough conversations.
Yeah. I would rather be the cool uncle or the cool godfather, and I can send them back to you when I'm done with them.
So wait. Let's back up. Let's back up a second. So we're talking about the twins right now, but you've done this before. When did the other kids lose their innocence? When did they go ahead and realize Santa Claus wasn't, actually? we don't have a chimney. How does he get in? You know, some of these.
So you know what's funny is when my youngest daughter, when she was going up through it, we had asked the older kids, you know, about the fact of, you know, when did they, because one day all of a sudden, surely but surely, each one of them at different times just was like, yeah, we know. You know, like that.
Why you look so disappointed?
Because it's funny is because, you know, the same thing is coming around with the twins, whereas, you know, one of the twins is sitting up there like, why does you know, Santa Claus only come when we're really asleep? You know, the same kind of the conversation that my brother was talking about. And you know, it came to the point where as the oldest child, they were introduced to the fact in school. They said that everybody was talking about it, and eventually, you know, they were just told that, hey, you know, Santa Claus, and they put one and two together and they connected all the dots. Now the thing is, she told the next youngest child. And then it's a thing in which at a certain point in time, when they just don't feel like, when they want to just destroy their brothers or sisters' hopes and dreams of the innocence of the world, they just decide to tell them, yeah, right now I feel like being a meanie today. Santa Claus ain't real. Enjoy that. And yeah, one of them cried, their bawling eyes out at their older brother or sister telling them that, because they do believe, you know, when their older brother or sister tells them things, it tends to be a non-lie. And then also part of
I like how you didn't say the truth. I like how you said a non-lie. That lets me know there's been some bullying going on in the family that I gotta address.
So we know we know this with the older kids now, looking at the twins, and when the twins are talking about Santa Claus and everything like that, and the older kids are just sitting up there looking at them like, you know, they're like, how long are we gonna let this continue? Because mom and dad don't have the heart to do it.
And that's my point, is that, do you really want let me put it to you easy peasy. I love the twins. I love my godsons. I do. But, and Rev, I need you to back me up on this. I don't need them to be Will Ferrell and the Elf.
Fair.
See? At one point it's cute, at another point it's pitiful. Now, mind you, because I'm not actively rearing or whatnot, I don't know what that age is anymore. I really don't. Like, I understand being a wrestling fan and roughhousing and all that stuff. I get that. Remember, I'm playing with G.I. Joes, and what did they have for all the action figures? Guns. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Snake Eyes had katanas, and, you know, he had trench knives. Have you ever seen a trench knife in real life?
Yes.
That is something that man, I'd rather be hit with a frying pan. That looks like it's up to bad news. So the point I'm getting at is, we know it's going to be ruined for them by somebody. And just like Rev Ross said, his auntie broke it down and said, okay, look, this is da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it doesn't mean the part of it is they might not think they're getting presents, which is a capitalist idea that you probably need to snatch out of them immediately to begin with. Because people need to understand the difference between deserve and earn. That's something I think a lot of people have a problem with. And combine that with the fact of, like I said, the naivete. I don't want them getting the wool pulled over their eyes. Because, oh, well, you know, if you believe in Santa, you're supposed to give gifts all year yourself, and that's why you get them back. And then basically taking my godson's lunch money all the time. See what I mean?
I mean, but there is the aspect of being good. You know, there's that part to it. And
I get that, but if you have the kind of this is going to be controversial, and I'm sorry this might get bleeped out. If you're the kind of child where I have to teach morality to regularly, I don't think you're going to make it. Not in this society.
Actually, they might actually make it really well in society.
Touche. But that's the point I'm getting at. And like I said, like with the idea with wrestling, I don't think they should have seen the Hell in a Cell match. I don't really think they should have. But here's the thing. They're old enough to know how to work a tablet or a YouTube channel or whatever. It's sort of like, oh, let's just go see what's available. Why does this have 1 billion views? Let me click on it. It must be good.
Well, and, that's kind of how they watch. I didn't turn on. I wasn't the one that told them to watch the Hell in a Cell. They had heard so many different stories about the Hell in a Cell match. As you said, it was like a penultimate match of WWE. Kids these days, even more so than when we were younger, they know pro wrestling exists. John Cena, The Rock, these are people that have permeated into, young adolescents' minds.
No, pop culture.
Yeah, pop culture. A lot more than when we were younger. When we were younger, wrestling was a, what's the word I'm thinking of? Taboo. It was a taboo.
I was going to say niche, but okay.
I'm going to say niche.
It was more of a niche. Now it's more accepted, and part of the acceptance was the fact that people realized it was scripted, and that made it more accepted. Because remember, for the longest time, WWE's owner was hiding that secret from actually going out there. It didn't come until he was sued over it that he actually had to admit that WWE was scripted. Do keep that in mind. That was something that happened during the 80s.
I'll say it like this. I've seen and been in a few fights in my life, and you cannot punch somebody like Dwayne does and think that's going to work in real life. I'm sorry.
I mean, the big thing that you said before, and here's the thing, is they haven't really, because it's not as theatrical, they haven't really gotten into watching boxing. But when you look at boxing and look at the comparison in between boxing, more so, I mean, it would be UFC too, but definitely for boxing, people require so much more recuperation time. Wrestlers do matches every week, basically, whereas boxers, they can only fight maybe every 2 months. They really can't go more because their bodies have to heal.
Yeah, less than that.
I can't remember the exact, because it also depends on where it is. It depends on the commissioning board and all that kind of stuff as well. Right. But I believe in Thailand, fights can happen every few weeks. As an example, for Muay Thai fighters.
Those poor people.
Have you ever seen? No.
But I know
they signed up for it, and that's some people that's some hardy individuals. I can't remember the name of the man, but there was a kickboxer who wanted to get some Muay Thai, and the guy had one move: leg kick, and he kicked the hell out of the boy till he literally could not stand. His legs were spaghetti.
And you mean to tell me 3 weeks later he had to go back out there and fight again? That guy that he kicked the hell out of?
Oh, no, not him. The other guy was fine. The kickboxer was messed up. The Muay Thai guy was like, today is Tuesday. I'm going to find the match and make sure it's added to the links. But it was one of the most classic matches ever, because it's like, what are you doing? And then he was like, oh, I see the strength in your maneuvers. Let me learn. And he became a Muay Thai fighter. That's how much it's distinct. But, it also depends if you're amateur, professional, if you're underground or licensed. I mean, we all saw Kimbo Slice come up.
Right.
And was his stuff licensed or professional?
No, it wasn't, but I'm pretty sure he required some recovery time during his, because his was street.
But here's the thing, too. It also depends on what the money is. If I'm getting paid $200,000 to go into a fight with you, if I'm getting paid $20,000 to go into a fight with you, I got a headache. No, I don't. Pop the Madville. Let's go. You know, I mean, what's the Milton Friedman statement I always make? If you show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. So the way I'm looking at it is I want to make sure that the twins are, if knowledge is power, then keeping them, quote unquote, innocent is a hindrance. That's the way I view
But that
it.
goes for everything.
I didn't disagree. I'm just giving an example.
I'm kind of just stating for the record that is kind of my permanent stance on a lot of things. Like, if you're going to give people as much knowledge as they can understand so they can make informed decisions.
Yeah,
But I mean, some things are also age appropriate too. Like, I'm pretty sure you're not going to teach them about what a condom is, as an example. Not
How
yet.
old are they right now?
the twins are 9.
Nah, not yet. Maybe in like 3 years.
And it also depends on what happens with society. You know what I mean? Like, Lord forbid it ever happened, but what if the age of consent changes? Either way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Either way, then that changes how you do things. You know?
Right.
Like, imagine if the magic age in the in the United States of America was 21 for everything. To vote, to drink, to buy cigarettes, to this, that, and the third. Then that kind of changes how you do things. You know what I mean? What if everything was 18?
True. I mean, we talked about that on the maturity topic about revisiting some of those decisions on adulthood.
Rev Ross, what say you?
I mean, it depends on the child. Like, it really depends on their level of maturity and how they understand things. But as a non-parent, I constantly have to remind parents that your children are not closed. You are there to inform them so they can make informed decisions going forward. You are not to make their decisions for them. And we have a problem in this country with parents wanting to relive their life through their children.
This is true.
There's a
Well,
book
I've seen
I'm
it a
reading,
lot.
the Coddling of the American
Well, I've
Mind,
seen
and that's
it.
one of it.
Yeah. I was looking at that one of my next books to read. It's just we've been doing it since about the mid '70s, early '80s, where we've just been slowly what is it called? Infantilizing subsequent generations. And it's done so that the generation in power can remain in power.
There was a great interview.
It might not be the reason, but that is the outcome.
There was a great interview with Chuck D, and it was on Vlad, unfortunately. But he was saying MTV infantilized an entire and set back a generation like 5 years because it was cool to be at home and watch videos and, you know, abuse marijuana and so forth and so on. And so nobody went out to get a job and do this or do that because they didn't have to. And it set everybody back. Well, meanwhile, before, in the baby boom and earlier, it's very likely you were working around 14 years old. And I'm not talking about like you were either in school or you were working to support the family. There was no in between. Now this is one of those you're coasting and letting somebody else do the hard work. Is that a fair assessment, gentlemen?
I don't know if it's fair. It is an assessment of one of the strata of American life. But like, to be an American became progressively more dangerous as the years roll by. Not many people are doing drive-bys in the 50s, you know. But that changes when you get to the 70s and 80s.
When was Al Capone around?
Not many people. specific groups of people were, but not many people. But it became almost a way of life for certain groups in our country. So staying inside was the safe bet for those people. So like, I can see how that could fit for certain groups in America, but I can also see how it doesn't fit for certain subgroups.
Like I said, it's just one of those, passing that thought on. So I guess the easy question that has to be asked before we even begin ending this episode is, have we influenced your thought process in any way, Brother Wolf? Do you say yay to this, nay to this, or what say you?
I'm still more heavy. I'm actually thinking about it more than when I was thinking about it when she asked the original, when she told me the original answer. But I do have one question that will help my thought process a little bit more. When it came to you and who
You is singular and plural.
Collins,
Listening.
when it came to you, who told you that Santa Claus wasn't real?
Classmates.
Classmates.
It was classmates. And then it was one of those, like you said, the dots started coming together. I'm looking at the handwriting for Santa Claus. Santa Claus's handwriting and my mom's handwriting looks very, very perfectly similar. And then all of a sudden, when I made that comment, all of a sudden I found out Monica was writing with her right hand instead of or whichever one using the offhand to write with, because she wasn't ambidextrous. And I'm like, And then I remember I believe I was living in Gentilly at the time. I woke up randomly in the middle of the night, and I went to go check the tree because that's what you do. And I see Monica still wrapping the present. Boy, go to bed. Santa just dropped. I remember that one. That was the year I got my Genesis. That was it. Rev, you quiet?
Yes, indeed.
I remember that one. I was one of those like, okay, cool, whatever. You know what I mean? And like and at this point, a lot of stuff is just like, come on, man. But it's like we get convenient about what we do and don't want to believe. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not trying to take away the twins' innocence. To think that you've been good all year and you get this massive payoff, and everybody you know gets this massive payoff is cool. The problem is the overreach of capitalism, and now there's an expectation of I'm getting presents. Well, what about, were you good? Do you deserve it? What does this mean if you keep getting gifts all the time? You know what I mean? And that's one of the ones I'm going to have a problem with. Like, do you deserve... I have a little cousin whom I love very much, and I try to break things down as easily as possible. He's like, what am I doing for my birthday? I don't know. Did the birthday boy go ahead and do good in school, or does he need to go ahead and have more time to... And you see he thinks about it. And this is why I made it a point to state specifically earlier, deserve versus earn.
Right.
And I do believe that is a inherent problem, is that people are in the mindset of I deserve this as opposed to I earned this.
I agree that, and that I think that's part of what helps with the whole Santa Claus mythos is the fact that if you're good, then that means you earned something, and if you were bad, that means that you didn't get it. And even though I don't know anybody that actually just did not receive their Christmas gifts one year because they were bad. I don't know anybody. I'm sure they got people out there that are and that would.
And I would love to hear that story. And I'm not saying it to be mean, but imagine if, and I'm going to request you do this for January 2025. You put you get a board, and you write down the twins' names, and you put naughty, nice. And you put a tick mark, and what happened? You got in a fight in school, that's the naughty list. You went ahead and helped somebody out.
You got in a fight in school, upholding someone's, like, bully bashing, that's a naughty and nice. You got to teach them this grace area, too.
I was being in the most...
You're not supposed to fight.
No. I wasn't talking about defending somebody. I was talking about there being a little asshole.
That's true.
That's what I meant, to make it as clear as possible. And so, but then they help old lady Johnson across the street. That's a nice. You know, you help your sister clean your room. That's a nice. And then you start to realize that this is how you're supposed to act, and then try and transition them away from that. Because this is very transactional at this point. You know? Not to mention, I just want you to know that you're on the naughty list too.
I'm on the naughty list
for that last podcast you didn't post.
Thank you. About even though I posted 3 other ones during that same time period.
Yeah. You did a good job. One. But it was the timely one. It's the one you were supposed to post.
So, yeah, the thing that I was getting at when I was asking y'all that, I'm pretty sure that both of y'all, I think y'all figured out that wrestling wasn't real through just putting the thoughts together in your head, the process through in your head eventually. And I'm pretty sure the twins are going to probably figure that out the same way, because they're on the cusp right now of making the connections. They're right there, and they're 9. So I'm going to say
and that there's also so much over the top stuff that it just can't work this way. You know what I mean?
Right. But as a kid, you always talk about suspension of disbelief. As a kid, your suspension of disbelief is way higher than what it is going to be when you get older. So
here's the problem. I get your point, but also there's a point where your suspension of disbelief doesn't exist. If you don't believe me, why? When you're that age, some stuff. Because I didn't understand, why is that man choosing to fight in his underwear? as a base level example.
Well, hey, the members of the Shield, they did it right. They came out in full body armor.
True. But here's the thing. What I did learn is that if I get in a fight and get down to my underwear,
it might not end in the best way for you.
Or it might end up becoming, he's like, that boy's crazy. And he takes off running. I'm just, Rev, I heard your silence. I just was but that's a valid point, is it not?
Like, what was that Jason Statham movie where he was like,
when he punched bad guys? All of them?
He got in a fight in, like, I forgot, a bathhouse or something like that. And he was in one scene, they broke into the bathhouse and started fighting him, so he had to fight him in his underwear with the other guys.
What was this, a transporter?
Yeah. No, it was the one that he had the thing hooked up to his heart.
Oh, Speed.
It was that movie.
The Speed Crank with the Speed was the count of Crank, yeah.
Yeah, Crank, in which he was sitting up there, he was fighting. They came in the room and he didn't have on any clothes, so what else could he do? And so,
sing Chuck Berry. My ding-a-ling, my ding-a-ling.
I mean, your boy that talks all the time about the prison system and how bad it is. One of your favorite comedians, tall black guy,
Ali Sadiq.
And he talked about how the guy was, unfortunately, he was on the toilet taking a dump. Guy walks into the bathroom and he's like, "Don't even wipe, just stand up." And then he was like, at that point, what more can you do? Like, somebody was like, I don't care what the hell is happening with the prison industrial system, but they need to do better if that can still happen. Like that's what it is.
I have to admit, I've done some bad things in my life, and one of them is watch World Star regularly. Ooh, I'm sorry, feedback. That's me. But I remember I was just randomly watching, and these goons went into a public stall, and one dude was recording, and the dude was literally on the toilet, and they broke in and just started. I'm like, what did he do?
Jesus.
What did he do? I mean, he didn't even wipe hands or nothing. Just I wipe hands, we throwing hands. And I'm like, what? And so, yeah, kind of scared. Kind of scared. And what do you do in that situation?
Right.
I mean, you can't shit yourself. You just, you finished.
Right. So I mean, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I think what I was getting from both you and Rev Ross's conversations was somebody of a older age level, but was mature and could break it down in a scientific way almost to the person. As far as the Santa Claus issue was concerned, was the person that did it for y'all, that communicated to y'all everything about the Santa Claus issue. And
But why not be you? Why not let it be? I mean,
because, and here's the thing, both of y'all situations, it happened. It wasn't y'all parents that did it, and I'll tell you, I'm not going to say it wasn't because they wouldn't have done it. What I am going to say is that it does make a difference whether or not it's coming from that person.
Now, here's one that's.
I'll tell you like this.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rev.
My godmother at the time was my mom's only co-parent at the time, so she kind of filled in where she could because my mom was a single mother. So.
And she did have more of a parent role to you than as an aunt or whatever.
Yeah. She was more because she was the person I looked up to who had the responsibility of taking care of me, and who my mom trusted. So I trusted implicitly. So yeah.
So let me give you another example, Brother Wolf. We've seen it in the zeitgeist, probably in a movie or two, where the child goes up to parent A and is like, "Oh God, I can't wait for Santa," while the other child, the other parent does the wink across the room, where they know what the game is and they keep the facade up for the other parent. You might have to go ahead and break it down for the twins, but say, "Hey, keep this a secret for your mom, okay?" And then boom, they have the naivete. They can still have the innocence. She can feel like she's doing something for the kids, and your kids are now armed with knowledge. Although I will say this though, I can understand your reticence. One of the cutest things is when they run up to you and they saying "Dad," and you solve their problem. That's adorable. It's almost one of the times when I wished I was a parent. So good on you by all means, but you know how just like how Clarissa explains it all? Sometimes Dad got to do it too. And look, get your slippers, get your pipe, get your robe, and moral oral your way to success.
Ooh.
Yeah, but you do remember the dad from Oral was spending like half the episode either unbuttoning or buttoning his pants. You remember that, right?
How many kids do you have?
Oh my God.
So neither here nor there. Besides the facetiousness, I would say break it to them, but do it in an intelligent and quiet manner. Do it when nobody else is around, maybe on the car ride back or go and do something. And go ahead and let them, don't even tell them. Bring it out of them. Well, why do you think they do that? Why do why are they televising it? Why are they, and force them to ask the questions, to engage in critical thinking. One of the cornerstones of our show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think I like that idea a little bit more.
I guess the other thing too is this. I always remember that episode of The Cosby Show where Rudy did something horrible and he was laughing. And they were like, "Cliff, why are you laughing?" It's because it's the last time I'm ever to deal with this bullshit. And I, from what I'm gathering, the unspoken question is, how do I make sure I do this last one right unequivocally? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that is something.
Your thoughts, Rev?
I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and give my brother, I'm not grading his kid's success. You know what I mean? Like, that's not for me to judge. But he seems to have turned out, several fully functional adults already. So I don't see him having as big an issue as he think he might be having on this one. But I will say this. There is something about being honest with children that I personally prescribe to. Even when you don't know the answer, the honesty is something that they will remember. And I think that's important if you want to raise critical thinking, responsible adults, is to be honest and to remember that we're just trying to guide them so they make good decisions.
Rev, to dovetail off of that,
man.
I agree completely, because I remember the times when my mom lied to me and I got caught dead in a lie. And I'm like, why am I even asking you anything? And I mean, if you don't believe me, you have an employee. The employee, you know the employee's stealing, but they look you in the face and pretend otherwise. How much respect do you have for them?
0.
So imagine what that does with a parent-child relationship. And this is just me speaking on my personal experience. I can't speak for everybody else, because some things you can understand why you'd lie for it, but I also believe I don't know is an intelligent answer as well.
I mean, I have done that sometimes when I didn't want to go flat out and tell them, hey, well, I didn't want to lie to them and tell them, hey, it's real. I've been like, I don't know how they do that. I've done that, sometimes to them and everything like that. And instead of doing that, I have left it open instead of sitting up there and just flat out lying, knowing eventually this is going to come up and I have to, and I have to go back to it. And they're in their mind, they're going to think back to, well, he never said it was real. He just let us, continue to, and the thing is it what it really is about is, and I'll be honest with you, this is a shitty world that we live in. I'm
shitty world in the season of healing.
It is a shitty world in the season of healing, and I feel as though the more of those moments that they have as kids, that they watch these spectacular events like, the Super Bowls and the WrestleManias and all of these things like that, and all of those type of events like that, and they keep those mind frames in as their kids, that'll be something that they'll hold on to when they get older. And maybe it may not make the world as shitty for them, and that's the thing is, as long as they hold on to it for just a little while longer, I feel at least a little better about it, because I wonder sometimes if the older kids, they got exposed to the world too soon, and that
Fair.
might have happened to them,
Fair.
And so
Rev, I hear you shifted
I
over
am
there.
not a parent. I will always stress that. So I don't know how that feels, watching the innocence slowly deteriorate from your child as they grow up. That has to be one of the most heartbreaking things a parent has to deal with. But one or two things happens. Either you do it, or society has to deal with it. That's it.
It's going to happen one way or another.
And it might not ever happen. There are people that hold on to their illusions until they die. But
Will Ferrell and Elf.
But society has to deal with those people making decisions as an adult. And that's the issue. Because if I raise my child and I'm honest with my child, and your child grows up into an adult, and my child grows up into an adult, and you weren't honest with your kids, then that means that we describe two different worlds for those children who are now adults, and they have two different bases in reality. And so they are making decisions from their core being drastically different. And by the time you're an adult, it's too late to change some of those core beliefs. And I think that might be kind of why we are where we are as a country.
So what I'm trying to get about it is, so let's say that you have one child that grows up and they think that wrestling is real all the way through, and you have another child that grows up and they know that it's completely scripted, right?
Okay.
Where would be the disadvantage to the child that believes that it's real?
P.T. Barnum, a sucker's born every minute.
Well, it becomes an emotional attachment.
Huh?
Because one knows that these people are paid actors, professionals, doing the thing to entertainment. The other one thinks these are two people with real beef who don't like each other. And the one I like is the good one, and the one I don't like is the bad one. They don't take anything where they're like, they see them out of text, out of the context of wrestling. It becomes extra jarring when they aren't acting the way they're supposed to act. Like, it removes the humanity from the people they're watching. Because
The decision's already made for them, yeah.
Yeah, they're just their character. They can't be anything other than their character.
Except for MJF.
He is his character, yeah.
So, and just imagine that wrestler who is now retired does something else with his earnings, opens a business, and runs it poorly. But that doesn't stop that person from believing that business is run properly, because their emotional attachment to that person. You basically rob your child of being able to objectively look at a person because they've established an emotional attachment to that person. That's completely one-sided. You created a cult member.
I get why you would say it. I do. It's just I'm trying to, like you said, it could create a situation in which the child only sees that person as that one particular entity, and that could create an issue. But I'm also trying to, because in real life there are people that you do pick that side with regardless. So I don't know. I guess I do understand where both of you gentlemen are coming from with it. I definitely do. It's just at the same point in time, I think I want to help them towards figuring it out on their own.
That's fine. I just want to make sure that they make sure they don't go into life unequipped. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like hold on to the innocence for a good enough time, etc., so forth. No problem with that. But there's going to be a point where the veil has to be pulled back.
Like I said, I'm picturing probably by the time they make around 11 at least, they'll know. They may even know before that, to be quite honest with you.
I mean, let's be really honest. It's completely possible they already know and they're putting on the show for you.
It is true. It is
So
true.
remember, this is what Dad loves, and we want to be around Dad, not because we have any affinity toward it.
That's also true. Or any combination of those, really.
Don't worry, Brother Wolf. I'll still power slam you. And then Rev Raj, you can use the flying elbow drop.
Just make me the
I don't
promise.
think you want that.
Do not do the sharpshooter to me. Only the Scorpion Deathlock, because one is with the left leg and one is
If
with
you
the
don't
right
get the
leg.
Tony Schiavone shitty ass out my...
With that, I do believe it's closing time.
I don't like him sometimes. Sound us off, damn it.
Well, for that, everybody, it's closing time. This is Brother Wolf.
YNB Collins, who's going to put the sharpshooter and the Scorpion Deathlock on my silly ass brother.
And this is Rev Ross from the announcers table.
I bet you somebody going through it, damn it. Hopefully y'all maintain y'all innocence, and if not maintain your innocence, at least enjoy it while you can, you know?
Thank you for listening to the Benchmark Podcast, a product of Benchmark Media LLC. We'd like to remind our listeners that the views and opinions expressed are strictly the views and opinions of each individual and does
they're
not
good-
reflect the
they're
stance
really
of Benchmark
good
Media.
individuals.
Any opinion stated is
And
not to be
good
construed
ideas.
as professional advice or help. Our intro and outro music is the Acid Trumpet by Kevin McLeod. Listen under Creative Commons. Contact us at the Real Benchmark Podcast at gmail.com or our website, www.therealbenchmarkpodcast.com.
It's real.
Donate paypal.me/benchmark media LLC or Cash App at $ the real benchmark.
Yeah.
Please don't buy him any more drinks. He doesn't need it right now.